Hey everyone, Merry Christmas. I wanted to do a quick video today. I got some silver. So today I had a budget of $120 and I wanted to walk through kind of what I decided to buy and why I decided to buy what I got. So right here on the left, we got the Mexican Libertad. If you've seen my other videos, you're pretty familiar with this. This is the 1 ounce coin made by the Mexican government mint, similar to like the American Eagle from, our United States mint. Now, my coin shop, he charges a pretty decent premium on American Eagles, just like everybody. He charges, more for silver Canadian maples than other coins. But for some reason, he always puts the Mexican Libertads in his, generic 1 ounce round and bar section. So it's less expensive to buy the Mexican Libertads from him than what I've seen at the coin show, when I see, stuff at the coin show. So anytime, he doesn't always have them, I think it's just based on what people bring in. I don't think he goes out of his way to buy them necessarily. So whenever he's got a Mexican Libertad in the 1 ounce round section, I always go ahead and scoop that up. So pretty cool here on the front. And on the back, pretty cool. Got the birds. So this was $76, which is pretty remarkable. Silver's at all-time highs. It's up to $71.60 right before I clicked record on this video. Earlier this afternoon, it's gone up about 50-60 cents since I was actually at the coin store. So it was $71 pretty much right on the dot earlier today when I went to the coin store. So $76, $5 is a pretty hefty premium. Although I checked on APMEX and JM Bullion, at the store and after I left, and the big online retailers seem to be selling the Mexican Libertads for $79, $80. So even though I think $76 is a pretty hefty premium for a generic 1 ounce round, because this is not a generic 1 ounce round, but he just chooses to sell them at that price, I think it was a pretty fair price for this coin. So I'm kind of happy with that. Also with premiums, like one thing to think about, I go in there and I see that a generic round is $5 over spot, and it seems like a lot. It kind of is a lot, but when I was buying silver for 30, when spot was at $30, generic rounds would be $3 or $4 over spot. And yeah, $5 is more than $3 or $4, but $5 is way less of a percent of $70 than $3 or $4 is of $30. So, $30, a $3 premium is 10%. $4 is even more than 10%. And so even though $5 is more than $3 and $4, I guess when you look at it from a percentage standpoint, it's actually technically a better deal compared to spot, even though maybe it just doesn't feel like it for me for some reason. So I try to keep that into perspective. And then I had a budget of $120 today, buying Christmas gifts and stuff. I didn't have like a huge bank to spend. And so I couldn't get 2 ounces. If you would have told me at the beginning of the year that $120, you wouldn't be able to get 2 ounces of silver, I probably wouldn't have believed you. And as exciting as it is, as amazing as it is, obviously, anyone that has silver is very happy about it. If there is a downside or a negative side, the only downside is that as you continue to add more, it's harder to buy more. So for the first time, I think this entire year, I got some 90% silver, and I did that for 2 reasons. Number one being that I just committed to spending $120, and I really haven't bought a lot of silver in the past month or so. So I didn't want to just keep the money in my pocket and spend it on something else. I wanted to spend $120 on silver. So, I did the math, and I was able to get 85 cents face value of 90% constitutional silver. And so the Mercury dimes, I have a lot of more quarters and half dollars. I don't have much 90% silver, but almost all of the 90% silver that I have is quarters and half dollars. So with me only being able to get 85 cents, I decided to get 1 quarter and 6 mercury dimes. The mercury dimes are pretty cool. They look very different and very unique from, the dimes of today. The quarter, it looks like the quarter of today, but the mercury dimes are really cool. I think they're maybe slightly more sought after than the other dimes, the regular dimes. So yeah, pretty excited about that. And the second reason, in addition to just budgetary reasons, was 90% silver does seem to be a pretty good value right now. So spot, like I said, was, $71 when I went to the store today. The coin shop was selling the 90% silver for $50 per $1 face value. So, real quick, if you're not familiar, there's 0.715 ounces of silver in $1 of 90% silver. So $1 face value means if you add up the coins, 4 quarters, 10 dimes, $1 worth, and that's called a face dollar, face value dollar. And 0.715 is a number that you should know. That's how many ounces of silver are in that $1 face value. So if you do the math of $50, 0.715, that means that it was, $69.90 per ounce. So with $71 silver, it was a little over $1 under spot, $1.10, $1.20, something like that. And with the generic rounds being, $5 over and this being $1 under, even though I do think it's less valuable and maybe you're not going to get the full value when you sell it someday, the reality is you're probably not going to sell a generic round for $6 an ounce more than the 90%. So I think, if you are getting under spot for 90% silver, it's not a bad buy. It's not my favorite. I'll be flat out. I know some people don't like to hear that. Some people love it. And if you do, that's okay. I'm not trying to bash it, but it's really never been my favorite. But even someone me saying right now it's not my favorite, right now might be a great time to buy it. So for what it's worth, even someone who doesn't like getting it all the time, I do think it's a lot of really good value right now. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Real quick, just talking about stacking silver. I did a video about how I had kind of some anxiety about buying silver when it got to $59 an ounce. I have bought very little silver since $59 an ounce, and actually really have bought no silver since $59 an ounce. Only that one numismatic coin, which technically is silver, but is different. And here we are, just a few weeks later, not even really, 2 weeks later, and silver $71. So here I was stressed out about buying silver at $59, and it's already gone up, 20% since then. So I'm going to stick to the plan. I think, if I have a little bit of money, I'm just going to kind of slowly but steadily keep building my stack. Don't go crazy. Don't go, making huge purchases relative to what you have at all-time highs. But, don't be afraid to stick to the plan either. So I'm going to try to be better about sticking to the plan. If you like hearing about gold and silver, make sure to watch the videos and please subscribe.